Hello, Holy Trinity family from Portland, Maine. Happy Mardi Gras. In keeping with the spirit of the overflowing abundance that's traditionally associated with this day before Lent, our first two readings today from Mass offer a veritable feast of words from James's letter. Crown, life, promise, perfect gift, light, birth, word of truth, first fruits, and from Psalm 94, sustain, abound, gladden. So it's fitting that in our Gospel from Mark, Jesus reminds the disciples about lavish miracles. When 5 loaves of bread fed 5,000 and 7 loaves of bread fed 4,000, and still there were baskets overflowing with more bread. Do you remember during COVID when people were sharing fermented sourdough starters? And from what my baking friend Dee Dee tells me, sourdough begins as flour and water and then slowly draws wild yeast from the environment. And this really good yeast continues to permeate the dough as you add to it. It's incredibly resilient, and it can be revived with proper care and attention if it's been a little neglected. So there's this yeasty dough that's still being passed around, and it traces its roots to the Oregon Trail. That is a gift that keeps on giving. But you need to be careful to store the sourdough in the right environment. It's got to be the right temperature, and you have to feed it regularly. Or you get bad yeast that tastes like nail polish. Or worse, its harmful pathogens contaminate and poison the bread. When Jesus warns his disciples in today's Gospel from Mark to guard against the leaven of the leaders of a religious institution, the Pharisees, and the leader of a political institution, Herod, he seems to be referring to that kind of corrupted yeast. Bad yeast permeating a religious system might look like exclusion, framed as fidelity, or authority that diminishes or silences others. Permeating a political system, it might look like normalizing contempt, division, and violence. Gosh, but bad yeast can permeate us as individuals as well, cementing destructive habits or addictions, hardening resentments, stirring up hatred even. Within me, I see a tendency to let discouragement ferment into hopelessness. Many of us in the DC area were privileged to witness a group of Buddhist monks conclude a 2,300-mile walk for peace that began last October in Fort Worth, Texas. A number of us walked alongside them as they moved together from the U.S. Capitol to the Lincoln Memorial. The sense of peace they brought was palpable, as I'm sure it did wherever they went. And this is one good way that yeast works, quietly permeating its environment. Lent is a season that invites us to look at what we allow to permeate and rise within us, in our institutions, our cities, our families, and our own souls. It's a season, individually and communally, to identify and avoid the toxins that poison the spirit, and to feed the good yeast that spreads life. We can test this yeast by its fruits. Does it expand love, or does it constrict it? In our gospel, Jesus challenges the disciples. He challenges us. He challenges me to use our eyes and our ears to recognize what brings life and what does not. Mark's gospel, it gives us an image of overflowing baskets of bread, and it prompts me to think of God as our original starter. our creator of all that's good and true and beautiful, what comes from God, leads to bounty and life, not death nor scarcity. So how do we let God permeate our communities and our own souls this Lent? Well, we make bread. We tend and feed the good yeast through prayer, relying on an unseen fermentation process, which requires patience and trust. If we have grown stale, we know we can be revived. We also protect the good yeast from contamination, fasting from anything that threatens it. And much like the purveyors of the Oregon Trail sourdough starters, we're invited to share this bread, to give from our abundance and our scarcity. Blessed are you, Lord God of all creation. Only through your goodness do we have bread to share, fruit of your creation and the work of human hands. May it only be good yeast that rises within us, giving us life and offering life to others, permeating and nourishing every corner of our country and our world. Blessed be God forever.